Hello everyone, I'm your hostess with the mostest 8-second gaming, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about the 3 best legends that you should be maining in Apex. Some people are a little bit confused about who they want to be picking up and being an actual main for, so hopefully by the end of this video you won't be confused anymore. But just quickly guys, if you're here and you're looking to get better at Apex, then you need to check out the GameLeap website right now. Over there we have top level coaches who have played at the highest level in the game, sharing that information and knowledge that they've gained on the way with you. We have legend guides, gun guides, VOD reviews, and much more, all aimed at making you the best player you could be. So if you really want to improve your skills, click the link in the description, pick yourself up a membership, and start to improve today. But okay, let's hop into the 3 best legends now, and there is one thing that I want to make very clear before we do this. This is not the 3 strongest legends out there. If you want to see the strongest legends, go check out the tier list that we do at the start of every season or split. That'll show you where all the legends are falling on the power scale. This is going to be the 3 best legends to main because they're not going to be as heavily affected by the meta. I see this happening to a lot of people where they pick a main, find out that they're not actually that strong in the meta, swap to a new one because they're strong in the meta, and then the next season or the next split something new comes out and they have to learn a new character because the meta changes once again. It gets very annoying and frustrating for those players because they don't get enough time or practice on one character to actually become a main for them. So the 3 characters that I'm going to be talking about today do not get affected by meta whatsoever. They're still very strong. And I'm going to be covering one for every role, so no matter what, you will be able to find a legend. So let's kick things off with the entry fragger. And for the entry fragger role, we're going back to basics, the OG. This is going to be Wraith. Now I know that a lot of people seem to think that Wraith is in a bad spot right now, but honestly, I have no idea where that notion has come from. Is she as played as she used to be? Absolutely not. I'm not going to argue against that fact. Is she as useful as she used to be? No. But that does not mean that she is weak or out of the meta by any means necessary. Wraith still does what no other character can do. She can play very aggressive and get her team in and out of positions that normally other characters can't. Her phase, while yes, being a little bit slower, is still a great get out of jail free card as long as you know how to use it. The slower phase is not really that much of a nerf to her. You just have to be a little bit more aware of your positioning. You can't get away with as much as you used to, but you can still get away with a ton. Wraith was the go-to entry fragger for a very long time for a very good reason, and she still is very strong. The hardest part about being a Wraith player is not leaving instantly after you get downed in a pub game. That's about it. No, I'm just kidding. The hardest thing to do as a Wraith player is just learning how to position yourself so your phase can go off. You need to be popping it a little bit sooner and maybe positioning just a little bit closer to cover so that you can get behind it, phase, and then run away. But once you get the phase timing down and you start to learn a few tips and tricks with your portals, you will be absolutely crushing the meta no matter what. So that is going to be our entry fragger, and with that out of the way, let's hop straight into the secondary fragger. And the secondary fragger is going to be my baby Bloodhound. Now for those of you that don't know, I was a Bloodhound main for a very long time. When the game first came out, Bloodhound was my main. Now one of the things that I absolutely love about Bloodhound and what makes him so good, and the reason that I'm putting him on this list, is because no matter if you're solo queue, duo queue, trio queue, zone, hybrid, edge, it does not matter what style of play you have, Bloodhound will be able to fit in perfectly. The amount of information that they gather and give to your team is very strong, and their ultimate is extremely good for fighting. A lot of times when people freeze up in fights, it's because they don't really understand what to do, where the enemy's coming from, and they need to have a little bit of a helping hand. Bloodhound gives you free wall hacks on a very low cooldown and an insanely fast movement speed boost. They are the second fastest character in the game when they're ulting. And I do know that some people are going to say, well, what about Seer? Seer is very strong in the current meta, but with all of the things going on right now, I'm willing to bet that after Seer receives his heirloom, they are going to nerf him. Now, because we have no idea how strong those nerfs are going to be, we don't know if he's actually going to stay in the meta. But Bloodhound is very likely to stay in the meta, and if I'm wrong, I will admit it, I'll eat my words, and Seer will stay in a very good spot. But for the time being, we just don't know, so I'm going to go with the safer bet and pick Bloodhound and put Bloodhound on this list. Now, for the people that have never played Bloodhound before, the hardest thing that you need to learn as a Bloodhound character is when to save your scan. The scan does have a pretty hefty cooldown when you're not in your ultimate form, so you don't want to be throwing it out when you don't have to. My golden rule is if you can see the enemy or you know exactly where they are and you can calm that to your team, save your scan. You're going to need it if they start to do a rotation or a flank, or if another team shows up to third party you and you want to get some information on them. So as long as you know where the team is and you can call it out, don't scan, save it, use it later. But that is our secondary fragger done, dusted, out of the way. So let's move into our support character. And I did have a very tough time choosing the current candidate because there are so many good choices in the support class. But for this one, I'm going to have to go with my gut feeling and I'm gonna say Newcastle. Newcastle is ridiculously stonk right now, and if you're not using him and abusing him, you cray cray. He has 2 different abilities to make cover at will, and he can even move one around with him. He can also slide his allies around while reviving them, play different angles, use the knockdown shield as a little bit of mobile cover as well, so technically he has 3 different mobile cover versions, and there's a bunch of other stuff that you can do with him. Now some people might be wondering who was the other legend that I was having kind of the toss up with, and that would be Caustic. Now Caustic is a great defensive legend, and he can really hold down buildings when the time comes to it, but on top of that he can also hold outdoor spaces and be offensive when sieging a building. If you want a defensive legend like that, try Caustic, but me personally, I think that Newcastle is just a much more well-rounded option. Newcastle can still hold down buildings, and he can hold them down well. If a door gets shot off or blown off, he can throw his ult down in front of it. That door is now blocked, they have to waste a bunch more ammo or put themselves out of position to try and melee it down, and he can also create more cover with his tactical so that if a window or spot is being played, you can make it just a little bit harder for them to siege your building. Now Newcastle does definitely require some finesse. He is a little bit easier than some other support characters because you do have a layer of escape on top of him with his ultimate. But the hardest thing to learn with Newcastle for other people that are thinking of picking him up is definitely when and where to place your ultimate. It's not a super long cooldown, but you don't want to be wasting it either. Take a look at angles, see where teams can be shooting you from, see where you would want to be shooting you from, and then place it based on that. Don't just slam it down willy-nilly, you want to be a little bit more aware because sometimes your wall will get blocked by something and not create all the full cover that you want. But now that you guys have heard the 3 legends that I'm putting on this list, let me know in the comments down below, is there a legend that you think deserves a spot in this list? Drop your comments down below, I love to read some community feedback, but do keep in mind, again, this isn't the strongest legends, these are the legends that are going to transcend metas. So don't just slam down a character like Horizon because Horizon's very good in the meta, yes, but she is likely to get nerfed again next season. But yeah, let me know in the comments. And with all this being said guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If you did and you want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest Apex Legends tips, tricks, and news, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Once again, I'm 8 Second Gaming and I will see you in the next one.